So thank you very much, and welcome to the front desk. You know, business rescue is as much a personal journey as it is saving companies. In my interaction with other turnaround professionals, they say that they learn a lot about their own company, their own systems and processes in saving other companies. Joining us today is Michael Dorn, who is the CEO of the RT Group, who have carried out some very prominent business rescues, both locally in South Africa and internationally. And he's going to talk to us today about some of his personal experiences and the experiences of the RT Group. Michael, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's a pleasure.
So I think, Michael, let's go straight into it. What are some of the personal lessons that you and other professionals within your group have learned during the implementation of business rescues in 2022?
It's a very interesting question because it's personal, but I hope I can make it somehow general so that everybody benefits. First of all, I want to say that every case that we are dealing with is an own case. You know, there's a big saying in our industry is you always find a case and you think, oh, this is the most complex, most difficult case I've ever seen. But then you get your next case and you come to the same conclusion. So every case is different. And I think one of the biggest learnings in my life, in our group, and I think that's true for everybody in our industry, is you have to be open to the new case. So there is, of course, certain tools and systems you are using, but in the end, every case is different. So that's number one. Number two is, I personally actually grow most in my career by failures and mistakes I did. Let's admit it, we are human beings. Human beings do mistakes. And I think if you do a mistake, you learn out of it. And I'm not saying that I learned most about the cases where I was not as successful as I should have been. But I'm more saying there are always little elements where you could have done differently and better. And if you recognize that while you're doing it and then correct what you've done, then I think that's a big learning. And in recent years, and especially this year, where everybody's coming out of COVID, where everybody is, looking for the new normal, one of the biggest learnings I have, and this is what we are focusing on as RT Group, is a turnaround is only successful if you take the people along with you. So people management, understanding emotions of people, understanding their motives, their drive in life, what they want to achieve, and then converting that somehow into your business rescue plan, in your turnaround plan. I think this is even more important, to actually get the numbers right, get all the tools right, because in the end, a business is made out of people. And people drive the business, people drive the turnaround. We can only drive a turnaround as far as we can go. But in the end, it needs to be a company that ensures long-term sustainability of a company, and that's people who are doing it. So biggest learning, Jonathan, to sum it up actually is take the people with you, understand people and try to make them part of the journey, especially knowing that most of the people are scared. Because it's called a business rescue. Who wants to be in a business rescue scenario by definition? So managing people is the biggest learning we have, and that's the reason why we're focusing so much on it.
How has this lesson of managing people and bringing people along with you become significant to the RT Group?
Yeah, so two things. What we're doing maybe a little bit different than competition, but I also want to be honest, Jonathan, I'm focusing on what we're doing. So I'm not a big analyst of what the competitors do. I know our competition, but I'm more focusing on us. So we've done a few things differently. So number one is, within our group, people are very important. So the well-being of our people, educating our people, training our people, treating them fairly, being a good team and having fun, but also be a high-performance organization is very important to us. Secondly, we are employing a different sort of people. Typically, when I grew up and I was younger, most of the turnaround specialists were kind of CAs, we would say, in South Africa, chartered accountant type of people. We are actually employing psychologists, and psychologists have a beauty that they bring with them. They understand people. So we can actually train the psychologists to use Excel, to use the financial systems to prepare a 13 weeks cash flow forecast, but they do it with a different mindset. And by employing a high diverse team, we are basically enriching the learning experience in our team. So we have creatives in our teams, we have psychologists, we have CAs, CFAs, we have people who have no restructuring background, and we training everybody the kind of standard tool set that you need. And then we're bringing a diverse experience of all the people together. And I think that makes us different.
If I'm looking at this and I look at other sort of business rescues, there's a big element in quotient of transferable skills that a person brings into a business rescue that's not necessarily taught, but is just natural to that person, like soft skills when it comes to interaction with humans, interpersonal skills. Other stuff, like you said, can be taught. So how do we take some of these soft skills and the transferable skills and adapt them?
So first of all, I think what we need to understand, a business rescue or turnaround is not about us. It's actually about the company. So what I'm trying to tell my team is, we are there for the company, whatever role we have. If it's a pure advisory role, if it's an interim management role, if it's a BRP role, but in the end, we have to make sure that whatever we apply, and hopefully apply rightly, will be transferred to our clients and the companies we work for, because they have to live with the company for even longer than we do. And the way we do it is we actually team up, we partner up with our clients. And we're actually trying also to lead our clients through difficult situations. You know, if you maybe, I don't know, you know, how you grew up, Jonathan, but in my life, I always had really good mentors. And I took a lot of skills that I have, at least, especially the softer skills from my mentors. So now imagine that the BRP or the turnaround specialist is a mentor to the company. And then people start taking on the advice they have. And I think the way actually really to get people learning the softer side of skills is demonstrating how you do it, taking them along, and also letting them do mistakes, and then show them and say, listen, this is how you've done, you could have done it differently, and see what the impact would have been. So I think the focus on the softer side of things in a restructuring is, from my point of view, becoming more and more important. Also, from a different perspective, remember, our industry is still very young. And especially our industry is changing a lot because of, you know, I could call it Generation Y, Generation Z, however you call it. But the younger generations have been growing up differently, you know, a different mindset. They want to be taken more seriously. It was not like me when I started my first job. I was happy that I had a job. Today it's differently. So I think what we have to do all is we have to acknowledge that the softer skills are more important, becoming more and more important, and actually younger people want to have these softer skills. So we have to change. We have just to make sure we are equipped with these skills, and we hopefully mentor the people to get them.
If we're going to be very honest about this, and I think all turnaround professionals are honest and not blind to this fact, is that you are working with different people. You are working in a very challenging environment where there is a lot of emotions. Distress is very emotional. So there are a lot of challenges that are associated with turnaround and business rescue. What are some of the bigger challenges that the RT Group experienced this year in carrying out their business rescues or turnaround?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question, and I was thinking about it the other day while I actually was debriefing with one of our teams on a client we have. I think the big challenge this year is how would you say that? The speed of change in the world. So imagine you have a very stable world, and there is no disruption from the outside. That actually means that everybody who's involved in restructuring, and I'm especially talking at outside stakeholders, they are quite calm because they know what's happening. So now suddenly there's a lot of disruption. We're coming out of COVID. There's war that never has been there. There's a new election, and you can bet on it. And suddenly that makes everybody uncertain. And what it means is people react differently from day to day. And what we have to learn as an organization, and I'm not saying we're perfect, but at least we know we have to learn learn that the emotional state of our stakeholders are changing on a daily or sometimes weekly or monthly basis. And we have to understand that. If we understand that, we can adapt to it. If we just assume it's all stable out there, then we might actually advise our clients in the wrong direction. Also, we have to be aware of the fact that sometimes things go wrong, and we have to admit it. We just, at another client we put forward a really nice solution. We convinced the client that's the best solution, and suddenly the solution disappeared overnight with somebody sending an email saying, I'm not doing this. That of course caused another type of problem. And then of course you need to be there, you need to talk to the people, you need to be reachable. One of the things we changed as a group is we have actually gone back from virtual meetings to phone calls. Not sure if that's the right approach. We will see in a few months' time, but picking up the phone instead of sending an email or WhatsApp, I think is the better way, especially to deal with emotions, because people can vent on the phone. You can't ventilate when you're on a WhatsApp. It's impossible. But picking up the phone, being there, and being aware that things are changing quite quickly right now, I think that's the biggest learning we have, and that we are trying to understand better so we can serve our clients better.
I think just to round off, maybe let's look at, you've started to pick up the discussion on how to address these challenges. Maybe just discuss it a little bit more in terms of the management of people's emotions and how you address that challenge, because it is a very big challenge that a lot of turnaround professionals have to deal with in all of their business rescues.
Yeah, so first of all, I think we need to be honest and fair, and we need to say emotions are there. I remember when I grew up in our industry, talking about emotions of the clients, our own emotions was a no-go. It was absolutely no-go because we are number-driven people and cash is king. So this is how I grew up. If you look at how the distressed private equity industry grew up, same thing. Give me the numbers, take out emotions completely. It's all about a numbers game, and that has changed. So first of all, let's admit there are emotions. So how do you deal with emotions of your stakeholders? I can only talk about myself. I think it's a personal thing. First of all, I'm asking them. So I'm really going to my stakeholders, say, how do you feel today? What's going on in your head? Is something bothering you? And if you do that on a constant basis, at some point of time, people will open up and they will tell you, listen, Michael, I'm really great today because of the following, or I'm not great at all because of that. And I think if you do that constantly, then they gain more trust. What it also means, of course, is if people talk about emotions, you get a lot of personal stuff. So it's not only about the company, because a lot of our emotions are actually coming from home and coming from our personal life. So I think you need to be up for that challenge, to also understand where your clients are in their personal space. And you can't just shut up and say, listen, this is personal, I'm not listening to you. You have to listen to that too. You have to be clear, and you have to say, listen, we are now in your personal space. Do you want this? Don't you want this? If you want it, then let's explore it, but we take it out of the work. And I think, being open about emotions, understanding that there are business emotions, private emotions, handling it very transparently, and maybe sometimes also showing your own emotions. We are human beings. We are not just number guys. And I think if you actually do this in a humble, constant way, I think you will gain a trust with your stakeholders that makes business rescue, turnaround, however you call it, much more easier.
Michael, thank you very much for joining us. As always, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope to catch up with you again in the new year, where we hope 2023 will be just as prominent for the turnaround industry as it was this year.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. And I'm very hopeful that 2023 will be a very exciting year for all of us. New challenges, of course, but I think it's going to be a good year for us.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you.